Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the first Whatcha Gonna Cue episode after Thanksgiving. We trust that your waistlines are festively plump due to an intake of lots of turkey, mashed potatoes, and other festival trimmings. And now we at Whatcha Gonna Cue intend to make your brain festively plump due to all of our movie and TV recommendations. Alex, let's say you were the co-host of a weekly video show. How many sections would that entail?
3 sections.
Yes, and those 3 sections look a little bit something like this. New to Netflix, where we recommend a new release most worth checking out right away. What the F is This, where we delve into the obscure or overlooked titles buried in the annals of Netflix. And For Your Consideration, where the recommended titles tie into a timely or relevant cinematic theme. And serving up these multiple courses of cinematic delights are your usual co-hosts. I am Jim Rohner.
And I am Alex Rabinowitz.
Alex, would you do our loyal viewers a favor and serve our first course in new releases?
Yes, I will.
Well, thank you.
Parks and Recreation is an NBC comedy series about the goings-on of a Parks and Recreation department in the small government of Pawnee, Indiana, and its quixotic deputy, Leslie Knope, as played by Amy Poehler. The series was created by Mike Schur and Greg Daniels, and also stars Nick Offerman, Rashida Jones, and Aziz Ansari. And Jim, this is our very first TV recommendation.
Yay.
Never done a TV, never done a TV recommendation. And I picked it because it's a new release this week, and it's just a highly overlooked, underrated show. It's got a hilarious ensemble. It's shot in that same mockumentary style as The Office, and it's just there's not an unfunny or unlikable character in the bunch.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I can speak from personal experience on why this may be overlooked is that Parks and Recreation, like you said, has that same kind of mockumentary feel that The Office has. So people who might be getting sick of the quickly sinking ship that is The Office may be trying to avoid it because, why would they want to watch The Office again? So how does Parks and Recreation differentiate itself?
You're right. The first season of this show, at first, was very similar to The Office. It was originally intended as a spin-off to The Office. It's created by the same guys. But then, in this second season, it kind of found its footing and its individuality. It learned how to use its different characters, tell different stories within a government instead of just an office. And it blossomed into a unique and almost more entertaining show than The Office.
Okay, so if I tune into Parks and Recreation, I'm not just going to be watching a female version of Michael Scott.
Absolutely not. She's got better intentions. She's a little bit more naive. She's a do-gooder, but she's just not very bright.
So if people who are just tuning into Parks and Recreation for the first time, where would you recommend they start? What are some really bright and shining examples of how good the show can be?
Season 2, episode 13, it's called The Setup, and it features Leslie, Amy Poehler's character, being set up on a blind date with an MRI operator as played by her real-life husband, Will Arnett, who's super funny. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well. And a good episode that features the whole ensemble is episode 9 called The Camel, in which they collaborate on creating a mural for their City Hall hallway.
It sounds a lot better than our mockumentary pilot, at least.
Jim, be funny.
Alex, I swear to God, if you don't turn that camera off, I'm going to throw you down the stairs, I'm going to shove your head up your...
I don't know what happened. He just went off on me.
That's what she said.
It sounds like a really good recommendation for the meat and potatoes crowd in Section 1, but for Section 2, I'm going to steer us in the direction, surprise, surprise, of the more artistic sushi crowd. Ooh. My recommendation is The Ninth Configuration. Written and directed by The Exorcist writer William Peter Blatty, The Ninth Configuration stars Stacy Keach as Colonel Kane, a Marine psychologist who arrives at a castle in the American Pacific Northwest to treat shell-shocked and insane soldiers from the Vietnam War. While trying to rehabilitate the soldiers by allowing them to live out their own fantasies, Kane must grapple with his own inner demons. And fair warning, Alex, The Ninth Configuration is bizarre. It's an unusual mixture of melodrama, black comedy, and theology, where the lines of sanity and insanity are blurred, if there's even lines there at all. But what will help people get through the narrative is this emotional connection in this relationship between Colonel Kane, played by Stacy Keach, and Captain Billy Cutshaw, played by Scott Wilson, who is an astronaut that is terrified of dying in space.
Now, Blatty wrote The Exorcist. Are there any traces of that here?
There actually are a few traces of The Exorcist because William Peter Blatty, like pretty much everybody else, hated The Exorcist 2. So he considers the Ninth Configuration to be the true sequel to The Exorcist. The one point that really stands out is that during a party scene in The Exorcist, Regan approaches an astronaut and says, "You're going to die up there." That astronaut is supposed to be the character Captain Billy Cutshaw that Scott Wilson plays in this movie. So, and carrying over that idea of these attacks in The Exorcist, it's very much a spiritual and somewhat physical attack from demon possession. The attacks in the Ninth Configuration are psychological attacks, and how these people are grappling with these ideas of doubting their faith and doubting their own sanity.
Now you talk about theology. How does that play in the Ninth Configuration?
Every character in the Ninth Configuration, to one degree or another, is dealing with a struggle of faith and despair, whether they still believe or whether they don't. And actually, the stone demon from The Exorcist pops up every now and again in little set design pieces in the Ninth Configuration to kind of hammer home that idea of this battle that's going on internally in people. So like I said, it's very deep and it's very serious. But I also mentioned before that there's some black comedy in here. There are some really funny moments, and the thing that I think is the funniest is that Jason Miller, the guy who played Father Karras in The Exorcist, another callback, he is trying to put on a Shakespeare play with all the roles cast by dogs.
Now that I would watch.
I would watch that too, alongside pretty much any film directed by the guy that we are going to highlight and for your consideration. As you may know, we here at Whatcha Gonna Q do not shy away from honoring our director crushes, Danny Boyle and most recently Martin Scorsese, and this week is no exception, as in honor of this weekend's release of Black Swan, we are dedicating For Your Consideration to the films of Darren Aronofsky.
Yay! The Wrestler is a gritty character study from Darren Aronofsky, written by Robert D. Siegel, starring Mickey Rourke, Marissa Tomei, and Evan Rachel Wood. In the film, Rourke plays Randy, a washed-up professional wrestler trying to survive after being forced into retirement. The Wrestler is a rich, enveloping character study where Rourke really gets to make his grand comeback and flex those muscles. He's emotional, he digs deep, he's filled with regret and fortitude. It's a remarkable performance.
I completely agree with you. The Wrestler was my favorite film of 2008, and what really bugged me were the criticisms that Mickey Rourke shouldn't have gotten a Best Actor win because he was essentially playing himself. And why I think that's stupid is because even though he may have been pulling from his own past life in the sense of the things that he screwed up and just this guy who was struggling with addiction, he still has to make that character likable and relatable, and he pulls that off really well, and I think that's a big testament to him and to Darren Aronofsky's direction.
And the aesthetic backs it up completely. Aronofsky shoots this on gritty film stock with the handheld documentary style, and it just makes it feel so ethereal and real.
It's great because Aronofsky takes a lot of trademarks of films that he's made in the past, but infuses that with, like you said, that kind of documentary gritty feel from stuff that you might see in Beyond the Mat, or these kind of behind-the-scenes films and documents of what it's really like to live in this underground, low-paid, obsessed world.
Yeah, it's completely believable, and it's just sufficiently lo-fi.
Yeah.
And he takes things that, you know, you could say that about Pi or Requiem for Your Dream even.
And it's great that The Wrestler thrust him back into the Oscar spotlight because he's such a great director, and it was really great that he kind of showed that he could recover from his fall from grace from his previous film, which I'm going to recommend, The Fountain. Written and directed by Aronofsky, The Fountain revolves around a couple, played by Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz, and the incarnations they take, both real and fictional, as the husband tries to come to grips with and overcome the death of his wife. The Fountain is by far the most disliked film that Aronofsky has ever made. When it came out, critics called it gaudy and pretentious, structurally incoherent and inaccessible, and I think that those criticisms are foolish, which I'm going to get to, but I think that even if you dislike The Fountain, I think that he should be given credit because he tried to do something truly original and stuck with the story through studio casting and budget changes that could have destroyed it.
Yeah, why do you think it's so confusing to people?
I think the reason that people dislike this film and find it inaccessible is that they're actually overthinking it. People think that there are 3 different stories going on and that they're never really sure how they're interacting in time and space. What they have to realize is that there's actually only one real story going on in The Fountain, which is current day, Tom is mourning the loss of his wife, Izzy, and that the story from the past, the Spanish conquistador looking for the Tree of Life, was the story that Izzy was writing in her book. And the future story of, you know, Tom floating in this nebulous space in this weird kind of bubble talking to this tree is actually him writing the ending to that book.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Now, a lot of Aronofsky's films have to do with obsession and addiction. How does that play out here?
That is actually why I find The Fountain to be one of the most interesting films that Aronofsky has created, because it stays true to those themes that he has brought up in his past movies. And in this one, the thing that Tom is very much obsessed and addicted to is love. And it's just a misguided obsession with it. He's very much in love with his wife and wants to do what's best, but he can't get over the fact that she is at peace with what's going on, whereas he is not.
It sounds like it's got more layers than my mother's leftover Thanksgiving casserole.
Alex, are you satiated?
For the second time in 2 weeks, I am stuffed.
That's what she said.
And we trust that you viewers are fully satiated as well because of all the delightful recommendations we've just given you. Take a watch of all of them, and then if you need to, take a nap. Even do it at work, we give you permission. Thanks again for watching, guys. You can always reach us by email, Twitter, Facebook, on our website, whatchagonnaque.com. And speaking of whatchagonnaque.com, Alex, this is the last day for something very important.
Yes, this is the last day for our Netflix giveaway contest. Again, here are the rules quickly. We're giving away 6 months of Netflix for free. Go to our website, whatchagonnaque.com. Click on any of the banners to sign up for our free Netflix 1-month trial. Sign up for your trial, send us your email confirmation, and you will be entered to win.
And for our iTunes subscribers out there, take the time to give us a review and rank us. The higher we get ranked, the more noticeable we are on iTunes' main page, and the more that people will be exposed to the joys of Whatcha Gonna Q. Once again, that's it for us, guys. Remember, until next time, Rosebud.